Okay. Hi everyone. So my name is Prasad. I have 18 years of work experience working as an architect. Okay. So this and I teach .NET, Python, DevOps, AWS. Okay. So many other languages as well. So the reason why I could teach all of them, the reason is I'm an architect. I'm supposed to know everything. Okay. So generally architect controls the project. So that's the reason. So I worked on all those. Fine. So that's about it. Now, before I get into the demo, I just want to introduce yourself. Just quickly, one sentence about you. That's it. Tell me. Six. Yes.
My name is Ravi Kumar Reddy. I am from Puliyandala. I completed my graduate in BSc.
BSc, yeah? Okay.
I am from Andhra Pradesh from graduating. I did my graduate in Anand Bangalore.
Bangalore. Good. Good. Okay.
This is I have completed BSc.
NCA. Okay. Good.
And so my name is Vinayaka. I am from Pradesh. I am graduating in degree college.
Degree, yeah? BS, B-Tech only.
My name is Ravi. I am from Andhra Pradesh. I'm currently studying in Dotnet.
B-Tech. Okay.
My name is B. I am from here lies city. I completed with BA. My name is Shobha.
B-Tech. Good.
My name is Shobha from
Andhra. Okay. Your education? Huh? B-Tech one. Yeah.
my name is Ravi. Is that a part?
B-Tech?
Yes.
Good. Okay, so most of you are from computer background, okay, except you. That's fine. Doesn't matter whether it is a computer or not. Okay, anyway, you know, right, how much you'll be learning in the colleges. Anyway, so now you are here to learn .NET. Okay, so when I was coming here, someone was actually saying like, I came here to learn Java, but they pushed me to .NET. Is that correct? You were saying something. No, no. No.
Already learned Java.
You learned Java already. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so it's better if it is possible, make it little down. Like, that's fine. Yeah. So whenever you are planning to learn any technology or any language or any process, first of all, it is important to understand what is it and why you should learn it. Yes or no? So let's try to understand that. Okay. So what is .NET? .NET is a platform or a framework by using which you could develop, deploy. So let's open one PPT. So .NET is a platform by using which you can develop, deploy console, Windows and web applications and also services. Getting your point? So .NET is a platform by using which you can develop, deploy console, Windows and web applications and services. Many things, right? So we should understand each one of them separately, correct? Yeah, let's try to do that. What is development? Can anyone tell me what is a development? You are here to do that only. Okay, so development meaning you have some requirements. Okay, requirement can be like, I wish to develop an application which should have the registration page and login page so that I can actually register my users for my company. That's my requirement. Like that, there can be n number of requirements. For that requirements, what do? You write some code. Now, in this case, by using .NET. So I'll come to the languages part also, by using which language you'll be writing all that. So you write some code and making it work in the developer system. That means in your system is actually called development. Development. Then what do you mean by deployment? Correct? So yes, it is running successfully in your system, but you wish to run it on some other system, not in your system. Why we should be running it on some other system? Yeah, actually they should use it there, no? You develop something and you share it with them so that they can use it, no? So that's the reason we should run it on some other system, right? So making it work in some other system, just copy the files, .NET files from here to there, it will not work. Correct, right? You may need to install some software, update some software, provide some permissions, so many things. Then only you make it work. Then copy your files from here to there and making it work in that system is actually called deployment. Deployment. Okay. So running the application in the developer system is called development. Running the application in some other system or set of systems or servers, we call it as deployment. Now, what do you develop or deploy is the question, right? So as I mentioned, you develop console, Windows, and web applications. Now the question is, what is console? Correct, right? So yeah, tell me. Yeah. So you learned Java, you mentioned, right? Do you know what is console application? Any idea? Whatever you know, you just tell me. Because even in Java, there is a console application. That's why I'm saying. Okay, that's fine. Huh? Yeah. No, when you are saying something, say it loudly. That's fine. Whether it is right or wrong doesn't matter. Huh? That's fine. Okay. Now, console applications mean, first of all, what is an application? Welcome to the console. What is an application? No. I just mentioned you are working for some requirement, right? So when you are working for requirement, you need to share something to the user, then only they can use that. So what exactly you share? You share an application to them. Correct, right? So when you talk about project, the project is all about application. You work for a project. So project can consist of one or multiple applications. Correct? Now that application can be console, Windows, or web application. Now let's try to understand what is console. See, Amazon.com is a web application for me. Flipkart.com is a web application for me. Gmail is a web application for me. It's an application. Correct, right? Fine. Now, what is a console application? Console application meaning it is actually a CUI based application. CUI meaning character user interface. Now, what do you mean by character user interfaces? So, first of all, what is an interface? User interface. Using this, you can interact with the user. You can interact with the user. So, what does it mean? You can take the data from the user and also you display some information to the user. This is user interface. Is this clear? Now, this is a CUI meaning character user interface I'm saying. So in Windows, which is our character user interface generally? Command prompt. Correct or not? In Windows, it's command prompt. Correct? Now here I can only type characters, right? Enter first name. Yes or no? And user can enter name. Correct? Here I can only use characters. Graphically, I cannot display anything. I can't display images here. Can I? No, right? Graphically, I can't display anything. So such kind of applications, this is user interface for me. User can enter. That's why I'm saying user interface. But which kind of user interface? Character user interface. Correct, right? Only characters. Fine. So when you are developing such kind of applications, that becomes a console application. That becomes a console application. Now the question is, why should I develop this? Why should I develop this? What is the use of it? Correct, right? Most of the cases, if you need very minimal input from the user, it is not like I'm trying to register a user. For that, I don't use a console application. If you need very minimal input, for example, there is one Excel sheet. You know Excel sheets? Excel sheets have some data, correct? So even in this case, let's say I have one Excel sheet. That Excel sheet has some data. Now that data needs to be inserted into the database. Okay, database can be MySQL server or Oracle or something. So I wish to insert some data to the database. Now, what is the bare minimum input I need it from the user? Where exactly that Excel sheet resides? Yes or no? Where exactly that Excel sheet resides? Now, that user can enter. I can ask like enter the path of the Excel. Then user can enter the path. Then what I'll do, I know the path now. Internally using the .NET code, I extract the data from the Excel sheet and insert into the database. No other input I need it from the data like user. So that's the minimum input. Correct, right? For that, I don't need to develop a web application or Windows application and enter the path. It's not required. Correct, right? For that, we use console application. Also, some cases, you don't even need that input also. If you know that always you take the Excel sheet, you know that anyway it is available in that folder only. You don't need to ask that user also. You know from which folder you need to pick it up, you just pick it up and do it. So some cases you schedule it. Schedule meaning what? Every day 12 o'clock I should run my application. I'm getting Excel sheet every day 12 o'clock. Then I need to insert the database into the database. So for that, actually, there will be something like schedulers. Even in the Windows, you see schedulers actually. Task scheduler. Okay, so you can schedule it. So by using this, you can actually create a task here and you can schedule it. Like for example, triggers you see here. So I can schedule like daily, weekly, monthly, like that. I can use it and I can schedule it. So to schedule also, we can use console applications. Console applications. Okay. We are not trying to learn now how to write a code. We are first trying to understand what is it first of all. Correct? What and all we can achieve by using .NET. Okay, that is what we are trying to understand now. Fine. Yeah. So this is about console application. But these applications are not shared applications. What do you mean by shared applications? Only one user can use it. Yeah. So if I wish to use that console application, .NET must be installed in that system. Only then I can run that application. If the .NET is not installed and that exe is not available with me, I can't run that. So that means only one user can use at a time. If you was to use the same application in your system, you should install .NET and also that executable should be available in your system. Then only you can run it. Understood? So multiple users cannot use at a time, which is console application. Is this clear? Yeah. Now the next one is Windows application. What does it mean? Okay. Windows applications are graphical user interfaces. Graphical user interfaces. Now the one which you are seeing in front of you is actually a graphical user interface. Why am I saying like that? See, it says draw, design, insert, find. You know, right? When I click on this, what will happen? Correct or not? So this is a graphical way of representing. Let's say there is a login form. There will be username and password. Correct or not? So when I have a login form, then I know I need to input the username here, password here, click on submit button or login button. Something will happen. Graphically, you can identify it. Correct, right? So that is GUI for me. So I am saying desktop applications are GUI applications. Okay. Now, this is again, it's not a shared application. Which one? Desktop. Like console. .NET must be installed in that particular system. Now I'll give you one example. Why do we need to use desktop applications? Example where frequently it is used also. For example, you go to supermarket. They will have one system. So in that particular system, nowadays they are moving to web applications. Now even in few of the medical shops and all, they are using it. So there will be one executable. They don't open that in a browser. It's just a window, it gets opened and everything they'll be scanning it and all that they'll be doing it. Am I correct? So that is a GUI. That is a desktop application. It runs only in their system, not anywhere else. Correct, right? So such kind of applications, we actually call it as desktop applications. Correct, right? Yeah, but it is a GUI. For example, this calculator. This is a desktop for me. You and me cannot use at a time. If this is not installed in your system, can you use it? You cannot use it. Correct, right? This is desktop application for me. I know now I can click on 2 plus 3. What will happen? I know. I don't need to ask the user to enter like 2, then 3, whatever, right? So this is graphical user interface. Clear? Yeah. So then the next one is web application. Web application. So what do you mean by web application? Any application which you can able to run with the help of browser. You know browsers, right? Tell me name few of them. Chrome, Internet Explorer, Opera, huh? Yeah. So Microsoft is Internet Explorer. Yeah, Opera, Firefox, so many are there, right? So any application which you can able to run with the help of browser, that application we call it as web applications. Understood? Yeah. Now, web application is also GUI. You correct, right? All web applications are GUI, graphical user interfaces. There will be a registration form, login form, correct, right? Order status. Amazon, you know, right? We'll be keep checking all that, correct? Yeah. So that's a web application, correct? Now, both are GUI. Which one? Desktop and also web. But the difference is web applications are shared applications. Web applications are shared applications. Okay, you and me can use at a time. For example, this is my desktop. This is my webbook. This you can also use it, I can also use it. But this I can only use it. Yes or no? That's the difference. Understood? Yeah. But both are GUI only. But this is shared application. This is not shared application. Correct, right? Now, to deploy a web application or to run a web application, you just need only the browser. You don't need anything else. Now, the question is, if you're not installing anything in my server, how exactly it is working? Am I correct? So that's the reason we actually deploy this in a server. In a server, there can be one or multiple servers, but in that system, you will be installing it. Dotnet, and also there is something like IAS. Okay, earlier Dotnet was actually supporting only Windows operating system. Now the good news is it is supporting even Linux as well. Earlier Dotnet was a platform dependent. Now Dotnet is a platform independent. What do you mean by independent? It can run on any of the operating systems. Okay, many people actually says you, no, Dotnet is dying. No, don't learn Dotnet. Yes or no? People are saying that right or not? Okay, now I'll give you one URL for that. This is developed, this URL. You go here, this is the URL. Just search with this. Okay, so if someone says like this, is .NET dying? After the class, you can go through. Okay, so this is the URL. Fine.
You've been looking for a job for a long time. You have updated your resume, social media, networking, and more.
This is the one. Okay,
This is Prasad from DK.
just go through, then you will understand. Okay, because why am I saying I'm asking you to go through is I can't explain everything there is there in that video now. That's the reason I'm going through. I am asking you to go through that. Okay, just go through that. .NET is not dying. It is flourishing. Okay, and always you should be listening from the people. Let's say if I am suggesting you, I should have worked on that particular technology at least 10 years. Then they are experts. Don't listen from the people who never worked on that technology or having only less number of years of experience. Getting the point? Okay, so we are there in Dotnet from past 18 years. From past 18 years. I started from around like 2004. From then onwards, we are working on .NET only. If the .NET is dying, then I should be out of the company, right? Yes or no? Okay, so next 20 years, I'll be working on .NET only. Why? It's a Microsoft product. There is no way of dying. Don't think in that way. Okay, and this is opposite actually. Because of these illusions and all, or assumptions and all, opportunities are more and people are learning less. And there is one more issue. I'm not trying to scare you. Subject is vast. Even for that matter, even Java is also vast. It's both are same. The only difference between the Java and the .NET was a platform dependent. Java was a platform independent. Now, even .NET is platform independent because they have introduced something like .NET Core. Because of .NET Core, even this is independent and it is also like kind of a open source. It's a open source. What do you generally mean by open source? You don't need to pay. It's free of cost. Correct? And earlier, definitely to develop .NET, definitely we must be using like Visual Studio Code. It's IDE, Visual Studio. Now, even on Visual Studio Code, you can develop. It is that much flexible now. I can deploy anywhere now. I can deploy it even in the Windows, Linux, Mac operating system, anywhere, it doesn't matter. Correct, right? So it is that much flexible nowadays. That's the reason you have n number of opportunities. Okay, if you learn thoroughly, there is much scope. Okay, so since you are learning from us meaning like we are three of them actually. So all of us are having n number of experience like me. Okay, so since you are learning from us, definitely you will be in the top level because we have seen so many projects, right? So you'll be in the top level. Already you are in the top level. You are ahead of others and we'll make you work on projects as well. I'll come to that part later, but I'm just letting you know. Okay. So when you work on a project also, you'll get end-to-end knowledge properly. Okay, fine. We'll come to that later. Yeah, that's about it. Now, my intention was to say .NET is not dying and it is a platform independent. Okay, if someone is actually saying, no, don't learn .NET and all, then this is the answer. Okay, just share that link with them, then they'll realize. Fine, yeah. Okay, so now you know what is console, what is Windows, and what is web application. Now, what is a service? That is also important. You can even develop services. Nowadays, it's all services world. Okay, can you tell me one example of the service? Anything, I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about .NET. It can be just service, one example. It's a service, correct, right? So you're booking the ticket. So it's kind of a service. That means what? They're providing some service to you. Am I correct? So even here also, you provide some services. For example, I'll give you a better example. Cricket match score. Correct, right? Generally, not nowadays, like generally when the World Cup is happening, in the right corner or some corner, top left corner, wherever, the cricket score will be keep on displaying. Am I correct? But whatever is happening in that particular TV screen, it's not at all related to that. Some news will be going on, score will be displayed on the top. Am I correct? From where they get the data? Where do they get the data? I can't see the TV, I mean like sports channel, and I can't keep on updating. No, you can't hire a person to do it, right? Can you do it? No, right? Automatically it should happen, no? Correct? So that's the reason they provide some services. Okay, so that service, you need to pay for that particular service. You'll be keep getting the data and you'll be displaying that data. Okay, now I will even simplify that. Fine. You know ICICI Bank website or HDFC Bank website, correct, right? So you can open ICICI Bank website or HDFC Bank website. So in the system, in my desktop, and I can open it in my tab as well. And I can also open that in the mobile device as well. Yes or no? In mobile, again, two ways. One is by using browser. Second one is app. Yes or no? Wherever you see, one thing is common, which is data. Yes or no? Data is common. So let's say I'm trying to log in the web application. Using my credentials, my information will be displayed. In the mobile app also, it's not like your data will be displayed, no? Same, my information only will be displayed there also, right? No change, right? Correct? But what is the change there? Only the look and feel. Look and feel meaning the way you display the data. But the data is the same. My name and all, everything will be same. The way you display the data will be different. The look and feel, the HTML content, all that will be different. That's it. Correct, right? Now, to insert the data into the database, okay, why do you need database? I'll come to that. Okay, but to insert the data into the database or retrieve the data from the database and to update the data into the database, we develop services. Getting your point? Now, you develop the services and these services you deploy it in one common server. One common server. Now, what will happen if I am developing the web application? I'll consume that service in my web application. Now, I don't write the logic to get the data from the database. That is already written in the service. I'll just consume that. The same way, even in the mobile app also, I'll consume the same service. I don't consume any other service. Same service. Now, what exactly the benefit you are getting it now? You're not writing that logic multiple times. For mobile application, exactly. So for mobile application, you are not writing separately, and for web, you are not writing separately, and for tablet, you are not writing separately. You are writing once and you are reusing it. You are reusing it. Since you are reusing it, the advantage is you are saving the time. Time is cost only, right? Let's say, for example, to develop one web application, all this logic, you're taking 4 months. Now you need to develop it for mobile, tab, and even mobile also, there is one more web application, all that, no? So if you multiply into 3, it becomes 12. Instead of 12 months, within 4 months only, you can able to develop. See how much time you are saving. So that is the reason you develop services. There are different types of services like web services, WCF services, and APIs, web APIs, all that. Okay, that we'll anyway learn it later. But what is my intention is you could develop the services. Different types we'll learn later. Okay, so that is what is .NET is all about. So by using .NET, what you can do? Develop, deploy, what? Console, Windows, web applications and the services. This is .NET is all about. Okay, fine. Now, .NET, I did not say it's a language. Yes or no? Java is a language. .NET is not a language. I mentioned .NET is a platform. .NET supports so many languages. .NET support C#, .NET support VB.NET, VB, .NET supports Csharp, .NET support VC++. So many languages it supports actually. Okay, but we will be learning C#. C#. Why are we learning C#? C# is actually kind of similar to C++. It will be in that way. That's the reason we learn C#. And in the industry, 99% of the cases people uses C#. So So that's the reason we are learning C Sharp, and with C Sharp, you can develop all of them. For console also, we use C Sharp. For Windows, we use C Sharp. For services, we use C Sharp. And for web applications, we use C Sharp. Is this clear? Okay, fine. Now, we should also understand how exactly we can compile .NET. But before that, I wish to explain one more point. Whenever you think of .NET, you actually think of two things. One is .NET framework, .NET framework. Second one is Visual Studio. .NET framework, and second one is Visual Studio. So you also have .NET Core. I'll come to that later. So .NET framework, why do I need it? I'll come to that. Why do I need .NET framework? I'll come to that. But Visual Studio is actually a IDE. IDE meaning Integrated Development Environment. Now, this is Visual Studio code. You can see Visual Studio. This is Visual Studio. I can open this, but it's fine. Okay. So this is Visual Studio. Using that, you can actually develop .NET projects. The structure and all, it displays. Let me open this. So this is Visual Studio. When you install Visual Studio, automatically .NET framework also gets installed in that particular system. Getting a point? So this is Visual Studio. But when you install Visual Studio, what will happen? .NET framework also gets installed in that particular system. Now, to develop an application, you need Visual Studio. To deploy or run an application, you don't need Visual Studio. Are you getting a point? In a server, you don't install Visual Studio. Or if I wish to run console application or desktop application in your system, I don't need to install Visual Studio. I just need .NET framework. That is sufficient in that particular system. Is this clear? Yeah. So this is Visual Studio. Anyway, so now why do I need a .NET framework is the question. Fine. So I'll come to that. So I just want you to know the compilation process of .NET. Then I'll relate that to with this one. Okay, fine. What do you mean by compilation? Can anyone tell me? Correct. Generally, you write some instructions. Just say like in the C also we write printf, correct? So how exactly it gets executed? No, not line by line. What do you mean by compilation? See, your system has a processor. Processor can understand only zeros and ones. Not even bytecode, binary we call it as. Correct? So that can understand only that. So you need to convert your code into binary code. Am I correct? Zeros and ones. Native code we call it as. Mission understandable language we call it as. Correct, right? Now you are writing some instructions. So ultimately I should convert that. So if it is a C and all, there will be only one compiler. It will directly convert your code into mission understandable language. But in .NET, it is actually a two-step process. Two-step process. The compilation is two-step process. So what do you mean by two-step? How exactly it happens? Let's say you are writing C# code. And you are also writing VB.NET code. I told you, right? It also supports many languages. Correct, right? So I'm writing in C#. Or there is one more project which I written in VB. Now, each language will have its own language compiler. Each language will have its own language compiler. So what will happen is there will be a language compiler. There will be a language compiler. This will actually convert your code into MSIL code. Into what? MSIL code. C# will have C# language compiler. VB will have VB language compiler. Now that language compiler convert that into MSIL code. This is the first step. Understood? This is the first step. Then the second step would be, I need to convert that into zeros and ones to the native code. Correct, right? So how exactly it happens is, there will be something called JIT. This we call it as just in time compiler. Just in time compiler. What exactly it does is, it actually converts your MSIL code into mission understandable language. Into mission understandable language. This we call it as native code or whatever. Understood? So who is converting it? Who is converting it? Just in time compiler is converting your MSIL to native code. Correct? This is the second step. Now, where is this just in time compiler? So it resides actually this just-in-time compiler resides inside CLR. This CLR, we call it as Common Language Runtime. Common Language Runtime. Understood? It resides in CLR. This CLR resides in .NET framework. What is that? .NET framework. So this is .NET framework for you. Inside .NET framework, you'll have CLR and CL. I'll come to the CL part. Okay. So this just-in-time compiler resides where? In the CLR. CLR resides in .NET framework. That is the reason you need .NET framework to run your console, Windows and web applications. Getting the point? So without that, you can't even compile, no? So that's the reason we need this CLR. Understood or not? Getting bored? Yeah, fine. Now the next one, in the CLR, is this the only job of CLR? No, there is one more job of the CLR is, there is something like garbage collection. Garbage collection. What exactly you mean by garbage collection? Meaning, you will be declaring some objects. Okay. So for example, I'm saying like F name equals to Prasad, L name equals to Reddy, whatever. I will be displaying some objects, declaring, initializing some objects. Okay. Now, you don't need to deallocate it manually. Manually meaning, if I'm not using that variable, you don't need to say like make it as null or deallocate by using some code, nothing. Automatically, garbage collector deallocate that. Whenever any object is no longer used by the application, automatically garbage collector deallocates them. That's the algorithm already written. Correct, right? Now that garbage collector also resides in the CLR. So that's the reason we need .NET framework. And what do you mean by class libraries? Class libraries is the question. So most of you are aware of C, right? Minimum knowledge in C, correct? So in C, we write something like printf. Yes or no? Why do we use that printf? To print that statement, whatever you are writing over there. So in the top of that particular program, you write something like include stdio.h header file. Why should I write it? Huh? Have you ever tried to delete that and comment that / include stdio.h and execute it? Huh? So you get an error. Why are we getting that error? The reason is, printf is a function. Printf is a function. That function definition resides in that header file. Someone has already written the code for the printf. Getting my point? It's there in that header file. You are just using it. Yes or no? Now, if that definition is not available, then how do you use that? That's why it will not work. Yes or no? That's a system defined function, we call it as. System defined. What does it mean, system defined? Microsoft already written that function and you are just using that function. Like that, in that case, C is different, turbo C and all, that's fine. But in this case also, you'll have something like class libraries. Inside class libraries, you will have some DLLs. Inside DLLs, you'll have some classes. Inside classes, you'll have some methods or functions, like I just mentioned printf. Correct, right? So if that, like here we say something like console.writeLine. Instead of printf, what do we do here? We use something like console.writeLine and all. So here I can say like welcome to .Net or something I can mention. Now console is a class, writeLine is a function. This function, this class exists actually in the class libraries. If I don't have the class libraries, this will not work. Understand? So that's the reason I need this class libraries. Now both of them resides in the .NET framework. Yes or no? So that's the reason you need .NET framework when you are developing and also when you are deploying it. Agree or not? Okay, fine. So that is about .NET compilation program and .NET framework and Visual Studio. Is this clear? Now let's try to understand what are all the components or languages or tools which you will be learning as part of this course. Correct, right? So let's try to go to the new slide. We learn definitely C#. It's a language I already mentioned. Okay, using C# only you develop console, Windows, web applications, all that. Okay, then you will learn something like SQL server, SQL server, MySQL server, we call it as. This is a database. So why should I use database? To store the data. Correct, right? So definitely for an application, we should be storing the data. So this is again Microsoft product. So that's the reason we learn SQL server. Okay. Then you learn something like ADO.NET, which is actually to get the data, which is used to get the data from the database. That's ADO.NET. And to insert the data to all that, we need to learn ADO.NET. Then you learn something like ASP.NET, which is a tool to develop your web applications. Again, in ASP.NET, you will be using C# as a language. Correct? Yeah. So then the next one is you learn something like MVC, Model View Controller. Okay. So why do we need to use this? Again, to develop the web applications. This is the new way of handling. Earlier, people were using ASP.NET. Now we are using MVC. Okay, so that you will be learning it. Okay, from now onwards, from MVC, it's kind of advanced ones already. But yeah, MVC you will be learning it. Then you also learn something like Web API. What is Web API? So I said services. So to develop these services, we need to use Web API. Web API. Then you learn .NET Core. Using .NET Core, you can actually develop MVC again in Web APIs. Now, what's the difference between the just MVC and .NET Core MVC? Are you getting my point? So MVC works only on Windows systems. Understood? And just Web API works only on Windows system. But if you learn .NET Core, then inside that MVC and Web API, then that will work on any of the operating systems. Understand? So that also you will be learning it, which is .NET Core. Then after that, you learn something like link queue to query the databases. We use SQL as a script, right? But even in C#, you can query the tables. For that, we actually use link queue. There are other advantages also. You can query objects, all that can be done. Then you will also learn something like entity framework, which is the advanced topic of ADO.NET. Instead of ADO.NET, we can use entity framework also. Okay. And if we feel that apart from this, you have the capacity to learn even Angular, we will make you learn an Angular. It all depends on your capacity. Getting my point? Okay. It's all depends on your capacity. Till this is already like more sufficient according to me. But if you think that, yes, I can also learn Angular, yes, we are ready to teach. It's all depends on you. Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying I'll charge for that. If you are capable, we'll make you learn even Angular as well. Getting the point? So then once this is a 3 months course, which one? This entire stuff is 3 months course, excluding Angular. It's a 3 months course. Once that gets over, we'll make you work on project. Okay. So we have our own organization. So in that we'll be working on project. So again, it depends on you. Minimum 2 months, maximum can be 3 months or 4 months. Why am I saying that is? I should know now, yes, you learned properly and you are able to finish some work in the project. So once you get into the organization, you will not face any issues. I should feel that. Correct? I'll be keep checking. So once I feel that, yes, this guy is capable now, then what do? Then we will actually create a resume and we will take mock interviews. Okay. So we are 3 of them. Any one of them will take mock interviews and ultimately I will take the mock interview in the end. If I feel that, yes, you are capable, now we'll put a resume, then you'll get a job. And once you put a resume, you shouldn't be worrying about calls. For .NET, there are n number of calls. That won't be a problem. The problem only, you should put some effort. This is not, here there is no negativity. Okay. What do you mean by negativity? Proxies, job supports. I oppose that. Okay. I am here to make you learn practically everything and get a job by yourself. If you do it in that way, what is the advantage? Tell me. In future, you don't need to suffer. Sustainability will be there. You will be confident. Whatever the work they are saying, you will be in a position to finish up that work. Yes or no? No, you do not need to worry. If you are not learning and joining the organization, then on daily basis, how do you complete the task? Tell me. Then that will be a hell. Very difficult. Correct or not? Don't expect job supports and all. Nowadays, in the morning, they will actually assign some work. In the evening, you should deliver. I'm not saying only for .NET. For any technologies like that nowadays. Correct, right? Only in the COVID situations, people are working from home and people are enjoying. That's a different story. It is all gone now. Yes or no? You have to do it in this way only. Correct? So if you really follow whatever we are saying, then you don't need to look back at all. We'll guarantee on that. Understood? Okay. Actually speaking, you are in a right place. Okay. I'm not exaggerating it. This is fact. No one will guide you like this. You can inquire anywhere. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. Over here or in my institute. I mean, I also one institute. He's my brother only. Correct, right? So in both of us here only you'll get this kind of packages. You don't get in anywhere in Bangalore like that. Not only for .NET, for any technology. The reason is personally we'll take care each one of you. That will not happen anywhere. Is this clear? Yeah. Now that is about it. And yeah, definitely system requirements and all will let you know later. Okay, so definitely Windows system with 8 GB RAM is minimum anyway. Okay, Windows only I'm saying again. Initially Windows, later on we'll move to .NET Core. So that's the reason you should have a Windows system with minimum 8 GB RAM. Is this clear? Yeah. So that's about it. Now let me stop sharing the recording. Like 1 second. Sorry, I'll stop the recording.